What's going on? Welcome back to Coach Dad Rising Beyond podcast. I'm your host, Larry Tyler, a father, a coach, and an advocate. And right now, I'm living through something every parent needs to pay attention to. Let me ask you something. If you were a father watching your daughter, right? If you was a father watching your child walk through an environment where you know people have already labeled her, have judged her, they've treated your child unfairly, how would you feel? Because when it's your child, this isn't about politics. This isn't gossip. This is about protection. And when someone tries to stand in between a father and his responsibility to protect his child, that's when things begin to change. They shift a little bit. So this podcast isn't about drama. It's about my truth. It's about the truth. It's about fatherhood. And what happens when a father refuses to stay quiet when his daughter is pretty much caught in the middle? So tonight, I want to talk about it. I want to share it. Let me ask you something. If you were in my position as a father, as a black father, watching your child, like I said, in an environment where you know people are labeling her, they've judged her, they're treating her unfairly, how would that make you feel? Because I'm telling you how I feel. I'm frustrated. I'm angry. Not the type of angry that, you want to fight people, but the kind of anger that comes from knowing you are supposed to protect your child. Think about that anger as a man, knowing that you can't. There's a fence, there's a barrier that's keeping you from protecting your child. Your child is unshielded. If someone is trying to stand between you and that responsibility, think about how that'll make you feel as a father. Understand, protection is not optional. For me, protection is protection. For me, fatherhood, it's instinct, it's duty. It's something that you wake up to every day. So when you have a system or a group of people that's pretty much trying to limit your presence around your child, that does something to a man. Think about it. That does something to a man. It feels like you're trying to take away my voice, my authority, my responsibility as a father. And I'm sure, fathers, if you think about it, that's something you're not going to take lightly. You're not. When I look at my daughter, y'all may just see a softball player. I don't see just a softball player. I see a young, beautiful black girl learning confidence, learning how to deal with adversity, learning how to navigate around people who may not treat her fairly. So as my job, my response is to stand there while she learned those lessons. Not behind the fence, not from a distance, but right beside her. I'm right there. That's what fatherhood is. So if you ask me what am I experiencing right now, I would say this. I'm experiencing what every father feels when someone threatens their peace, their safety, or the dignity of their child. I'm experiencing instincts to stand up, to speak up, to protect, and to make sure that my daughter never feels like she's walking through this alone. I cannot have that image. I can't. Of a father from afar. No father wants that image knowing that her father can't be there with her because of outside forces. So again, she ain't alone. She can't stand alone. And to make sure that my daughter never feels like she's walking through this difficult situation alone, because she doesn't have to feel that way. I can't have her feeling that way. She has a father. She has a present father, let me be clear. And a father that's not going anywhere. So again, let me ask you a question. So what would you do if speaking up for your child got you suspended from the league she's playing in? Not suspended for fighting, not suspended for threatening anybody, suspended for breaking any rules, but just suspended for speaking up, sharing your experience, asking for fairness, a safe environment, a neutral environment. Because that's what I did. And this is what's happening to me. That's exactly what happened to me. I got suspended. Let me start here. So we get a board member, right? The board decided to call an emergency board member meeting on my behalf. Apparently, something I said hit a nerve, right? On March 7th, that's when I uploaded an episode where pretty much I shared my experience as a father navigating through youth sports. It's my experience. 2 days later, Tuesday morning, around 10:16 in the morning, I get an email from the board of directors of the league that we're attached to. And the email was telling me that, they will be reviewing conducts concerning related public posts and podcasts. Statements they felt it was directly towards league officials. I wonder if they're talking about these statements here. They say my conduct may have violated league's code of conduct. They quoted me that parents and spectators agree not to ridicule or demean league officials in a public forum. My link is right here. You can go review it and you tell me if anything that I said was ridiculing or demeaning. And pretty much, they invited me to the board meeting that was being hosted the same day at 6:30 p.m. Remind you, I just got the email at 10-something that morning. They did say something interesting. They pretty much told me that I am being informed of the charges. I didn't know that I broke any law. And given the opportunity to appear in front of who? Who are y'all? The board? For my experiences? All right, cool. They gave me that invite. Now, if you know anything about me, I showed up. Of course, I'm going to be there to defend myself. I had to. The meeting pretty much went exactly how they said it would go in the email that they sent me. They said they would speak on the situation. I then can speak on the situation. They would ask me to leave and they would make a vote and reach out to me to notify me of the finding. And that's exactly how it went. When I got there, everybody was in the meeting. You had the vice president read their statement.
Mr. Tyler, thank you for appearing today. This meeting has been called so the board can review whether your public statements violated the league's code of conduct and were detrimental to the best interest of this organization. This is not a debate about team placement, coaching philosophy, or past disagreements. The issue before the board is your decision to make public statements about league officials in a podcast and related posts. In the podcast, you made numerous public statements about league officials and the organization, including describing the league environment and leadership using phrases such as referring to the league as an operating with incompetence, stating that everything looks suspect regarding league evaluations and assessments, claiming the board operates with power and control rather than ethics and morals, stating there is nothing integral about what takes place, saying the league is run by people with small town mentality, small-minded, country-minded stuff from back in the day mentalities, describing the board as a group of people who still think they got power, stating that leadership ain't built like that, and accusing the president of avoiding real conversation and hiding behind a keyboard. Publicly claiming that the league has allowed unsafe coaches, umpires, or league officials in any public forum. The bylaws also provide that membership may be disciplined, suspended, or terminated for acts or deeds which are contrary to the welfare of the organization or its players, including code of conduct violations and for conduct detrimental to the best interests of the organization. The board is here tonight to determine whether your public statements fall within those provisions. You will now have the opportunity to respond to the general nature of these charges. After you speak, we'll go into a closed session for deliberation and we'll vote. You will be notified in writing within 24 hours of our decision.
I then read my statement.
Let me ask you directly. You stated I'm here for violating the code of conduct. At what specific moment do you believe that the code of conduct was violated when we talk about demeaning and ridicule? Under the definitions of demeaning and ridicule, I did none of the proceedings. If we so happen to take things in a personal aspect, understand my podcast, I'm entitled to share based off of my First Amendment, first legal right, is I have every right to share my opinion on life. That's what I did not say anything demoralizing or demeaning about the league. If I spoke about personal interests, personal situations that we can't speak on, that's not in violation. If you notice, you refer to the code of conduct which prohibits ridiculing and demeaning league officials publicly. Could you, again, I'll just read through, could you point out exactly what language or statement in my podcast or post, as you stated in there, you consider ridiculous or demeaning? Additionally, could you define how you interpreted ridiculous and demeaning in this context? I would also like you to indicate exactly where in my communication with Lewis or Beth you believe such violations occurred. This way, you're asking them to be specific and to clarify your intention. The reality is this: I'm here today because I spoke about the truth. The discomfort of many of you feel is not because I violated any code, but because I continue to address wrongdoings that remain uncorrected. Instead of reflecting on that and adjusting behaviors, the focus seems to be pushing me out. Let's be clear. Whether you see it or not, this comes across as a form of retaliation. I carefully ensure my post did not violate any code of conduct as I did my consulting with people who need to. The conversation referred to 3 individuals, mostly Lewis. If you took that personal offense, I can't control that. But if the leadership is reflecting unethically, lacking as a parent and a community member, I have the right to speak up. This is for one, is a nonprofit organization for the community, and accountability matters. This issue here is simple. You, Lewis, and others are upset because I spoke the truth. And that's Stephanie. Well, this ain't about the past. There is no violation of conduct in voicing my truth. I have legal, moral, and community rights to protect my child. That's what this is all about. So, if the truth is the issue, then yes, I spoke it. If exposing unethical handling is the issue, then yes, I shared it. Each of you is upset because the mirror was held up, but that doesn't violate any codes. It's accountability. And I will always stand on accountability. My intention has always been to protect my child, be an advocate for a healthy environment, which I've always shared for the youth athletes. And I just want to make sure actions taken is based on written bylaws and applied fairly. So, my question, does the Code of Conduct prohibit criticism of leadership decision? And this is a question I'm asking. On or only ridicule as harassment, where in the bylaws does it define what constitutes ridicule and demeaning conduct? Also, reflecting off of bylaws that was established in 2012, here it is 2026. Any bylaws as was stated, being this is an unprecedented event, first time that it occurred. Amendments come after. So that's my one question. Can the board identify the exact bylaw section, not the general, because again, none of my actions was ridicule or demeaning. That's what I got to say.
Okay. Only thing I got to say is every answer to your question, she already said in what she's agreed. So
It's not in violation of code of conduct,
That's all I got to say.
and it's not in violation of my First Amendment right. It's not in violation. This is a nonprofit organization. And when we really look at it, we got to think about how this represents as the community. You can clearly look at all the instances that have led up to here. This is a form of retaliation based off of me asking, then why are we here? I should not be here because I share my personal. It means you had to invite yourself into my space, my personal opinion, my personal feelings, my lifestyle. That's what we do. So there's no code of conduct in violation that we all, because we all can go on our social media and where we address personal things. So again, there's no code of conduct that is violated.
first of all, yes, you did talk poorly about me.
What did I say specifically?
The majority of things you said.
What did I say
were true.
specifically?
And
Majority.
this did not happen. So
What didn't
like
happen?
I said before, we're not here for argument.
But-
we're here
but-
to take your segment. You got your opportunity to say what you had, get off with your chest. We'll take our time.
What did
doing
not
we do.
happen? No. If this is a board, you telling me that I'm saying untruths.
You are.
You're the okay.
You are.
So if I'm saying untruth and I have document factual
Factual on what?
conversation.
You said that they purposely turned the pitching machine down.
No. See, again, that's called interpretation. Because if you
So,
pay attention,
interpretation.
I said because of said situations, it makes people sensitive about said actions. Were my word. It gives people that's what happens when you allow a hostile, because you look at everything suspect, and that's true to nature. I did not say deliberately, because the post is up. You can go back and you can retract. Trust me, and don't worry, I'm fine with that. So no, I did not. I said specifically, it can lead up to a person feeling that, which is true. So that's not true, and I got that documentation. So listen, here's the thing. What happens today is really going to be on a big reflection of the league. I shouldn't even be here because it really is. How do the league handle situations, unprecedented situations? And the first thing that the league does, instead of trying to find ways to grow from it, to build from it, instead what they do is they take the one person that's holding the mirror, because y'all volunteer for this. When you volunteer, I expect, same as when I volunteered, us to give our best. We chose to do this 100%. So that means we're supposed to stand on ethical morals, principles, not personal feelings.
We chose to do this, but we also did not.
I'm just
choose
looking
to
up.
be demeaned and talk about online.
I did not choose my
That's why
child.
we have that in our bylaws to not talk about us. In
Well, when I come to the
But-
president and the league president, I come to multiple presidents, commissioner, league president about said situations prior to, because you got to ask, how did we get here? Yes,
Again, we said we're not talking
No,
about your post.
but you're
talking about your post. So
my post is speaking on a situation where I have every right as a community person in a nonprofit organization to talk about policies and procedures. And no one should be in a position because they address policy and procedures to feel like they're going to be pushed out. We all have policies and procedures to follow. So if I'm just addressing things that I see that are a form of injustices, a league, yes they are. I've said what I had to say.
thank you. Appreciate it.
I'm not shaking nobody's hand right now.
All right.
Good night.
All right. We're done.
Of course, a few comments was made in regards to these statements. I then exit 24 hours. Within 24 hours, I did receive the notice. Come that Wednesday around 11:15 in the morning, I got that notice. And when I read it, I said to myself, really, is this what we doing? Is this what y'all are on? Okay, cool, because this is what I'm on right now. I'm on transparency. I'm on accountability and telling the truth about my experience. If my podcast is going to bring uncomfortable conversations, then so be it. Because over the past 3 years, let's just be real, I witnessed and I experienced in 9 separate uncomfortable situations and conversations involving the league, 9 of them. Let's talk about it. March 2023, pretty much that was the first encounter of them experiencing me. Well, so during the board meeting, what had happened is the former president at that time spoke negative about me in my absence. I wasn't there to respond or make any statements, And in my absence, the statements was pretty much about my character, statements about my conduct, statements made behind my back. So you have April of 2023. At the next meeting, that's when I addressed those statements. And I did it formally, through a written statement. I simply pretty much called out accountability and fairness. That was the first encounter. And from that statement, and I'll make sure that I provide it to you, 20 minutes later, I received a text letting me know that they had called an emergency board meeting and that they're voting me off the board. All right, cool. Moving to the next one. We're talking about code of conduct and things of that nature, violations, uncomfortable conversations, uncomfortable situations, according to y'all. 2023, I reported an incident involving a coach, right, physically grabbing my daughter during a game that we were playing. And where I had to address the coach and the assistant coach at the end of that game about unsportsmanlike behaviors and to my child and to me. I had contacted the league lower conference commissioner at that time. I have everything documented. And again, despite those concerns, there was no actions taken. None whatsoever. Then you got spring and the fall of 2024. So because of me raising concerns about conduct and player being treated unfairly, what I'll notice is I was suddenly denied coaching opportunities for that whole season. They gave me the spring of 2025 and then they took it away. But during that season of 2024, spring and fall, you had, because I'm communicating back and forth with the lower conference commissioner, giving different explanations every time. One of the things I had noticed was the pattern was going through that. But the pattern was clear. I knew what was going on. Then we got July 2024, right? The same coach that I had reported to the lower conference commissioner, right, that's grabbed my child, that demonstrated unsportsmanlike behavior. My daughter was placed on her team. Even after I came to the lower conference commissioner and informed the lower conference commissioner that I did not want my daughter on that coach's team. And to the coach, I would even say during the draft, when drafting that child, that coach had informed the lower conference commissioner that the father and her don't see an eye to eye. But the lower conference commissioner still chose to place that child on that team. Why would you do that? That's not creating a comfortable environment for everybody, but you're going to force that on the child and the father and even the coach. But it's okay. It's cool. We got July. Yeah, I know it's going to be a couple of them. We have July 2025. It's when we have the travel ball game. The husband of the same coach is also an assistant coach, but the husband of the same coach. He and I had to confront him at a travel ball game about a situation where there was some labeling, some bullying going on. I went to go address the parent, and I just wanted to have a man-to-man conversation. In that man-to-man conversation, that father of the board member, who's the coach, chose to be loud, aggressive in his tone, in front of all the kids, in front of all the different teams and everything that happened, in front of all the board members. Again, no action, no accountability. Right? Later the same month, tell you I can't make this up, over 3 years. Later, the same month, right? They had an emergency parent meeting. This is the second meeting that has been called on my behalf. They called this meeting simply because during that time, we on the travel ball team, we were losing 8 straight games. And I made a recommendation of player placement and shared my concern about how the travel ball team is doing. Just my opinion, just giving advice. That went left quick. Emergency meeting. During that meeting, now here's the thing. When we talk about code of conduct violation, when we're talking about ridicule and demeaning, that's what you said in the code of conduct in a public forum. Keyword public forum. They chose to have this second emergency meeting at the park in the center of all 4 fields, while spectators, parents, players were there in a public forum. And in this public forum, this conversation with all the parents, the coaches, the board members, we're labeled, we're being called bully, we're being told we're delusional, we're being told, and understand when I say we, that's my family. We're being told we don't know how to parent. We're being told so many negative and derogative, we're being exposed to so many demeaning and ridicule terms in a public forum, in front of people, again, in front of players, in a public park, right there. Y'all are 100% in violation of the same code of conduct that you say that I am. I violated. And from that, and as the result for speaking up, standing on ethics, morals, and principle, as a father should, they voted my daughter and I off the travel ball team. Now, mind you, I have the audio. I'll make sure I upload it. So now, we talk about moving forward again in uncomfortable conversations that I've had to experience. October 2025, you have coach, assistant coach, the parent of one of the coach, all on my camera, So I got the video evidence, clear as day. You can hear the conversations that's being said, the threat of knocking my camera down and doing so by the coach's parent, who gets up there and literally, I tell you, say she gonna knock my camera and say, here, take this, move, and knocks it down. This is reported to the league president, now lower conference, who's now league president. This is reported, right? No action done. So here we are, March 2026. Finally, I done experienced 3 years of some stuff. And I see where this is going. So I'm looking as a father, just trying to protect my daughter in an environment that she loves, a sport that she loves, an environment that she has been with since she was 4. So we're talking about the past 5, almost 6 years. And as a father who chose to speak up about fairness, a safe environment, something that the league is supposed to provide. And what happens? Number 3, emergency meeting on me. We're talking about this league, right, chose to suspend me from league participation for 3 years for speaking up to protect my child, for protecting my child. But this suspension puts me on the outside of the fence, says I cannot go inside of the fencing of the ballpark area during games. How am I able to protect my child? My child is out there in an environment where she can be influenced, where she has already been labeled, where she's already been assaulted, right? They got me on the backside. As a father, imagine that. You can't go protect your child. Do you understand how I'm feeling? When someone thinks that they have the type of control and the power to prevent a father to be present in a space next to his child, right? So what this has really shown me is clearly, throughout all those instances, them 9 of them, many codes of conduct on the board's behalf, coaches' behalf, have been violated. But because I speak up, I irritate some people. Cool. What it really is, for the past 3 years, the problem lies is I've held a mirror up to their action. They do not like what they see. I know they don't. But here's what they got to understand. You're going to see plenty of me because you can't keep me from my child. Y'all got to do better. Changes need to be made. But understand something. Those positions that you choose, those positions y'all hold, are volunteer positions. So yes, I ain't gonna lie to you, yeah, I will hold you accountable. I aim to hold you accountable. Because when your mission is about the kids, I expect you to stand on integrity. I expect you to stand on sportsmanship. I expect you to have a community, fairness, equality, and safe environment that you should live in. But when someone speaks up, suddenly they become the problem. Here's the reality. Over the 3 years, I've had incidents involving 11 of the 17 board members. So you ask yourself, does fairness really exist when you got 11 of the board members already have a biased feeling? So when majority of the board has a conflict with one person, y'all reason was intentful. Y'all knew what y'all were doing. Y'all chose to do that. And shame on y'all that you would want to put a child, you would want to separate a child's father from being present. And the only thing he's doing is speaking up for her protection, a safe environment. Listen, Smyrna is no longer a small town. It is a growing city. We all know that, right? And you have to ask yourself, I really want you to ask yourself, is this the type of board you want to represent what the community is becoming? Is this the type of board that you would want to supposedly have safe haven in providing an environment of equality, fun, and safe, confident building? We're not getting that. All I asked was a simple question. I posed. That's all I asked. All I posed. Place my daughter in a neutral environment. Let her enjoy the game that she loves. Protect her from unnecessary conflict. It was real easy. 8 teams. 5 of them there was conflict. 3 that was neutral. All you had to do was throw her in the pool. Let the 3. She would have been in a neutral environment and we wouldn't even be here. It was just that simple, morally. As you said, unprecedented. Okay, it's the first thing to ask, what's the right thing to do? How do I protect this child? That's it. My job is to protect this child. Your job as a board is to protect the child environment, the community environment. Instead, feelings get upset. Like I said, we got the 3rd emergency meeting called. The email sent. Got a disciplinary hearing for me. And they suspend a child's father for speaking up. Now, let's think about that. We're talking about a father who's present, who's been there to support his daughter every game, every practice, who's coached many games, many practices, who supported the league for years. A father who's not only supported his child, supported other children on the field. And now they want that father to stand outside of the fence. That ain't happening. To watch his daughter from a distance? Nah. I'm not going to let you put that trauma on her. Not that image. I would not allow my daughter to see me behind a fence, a cage, a bar. You understand that image? Do you? Do you understand? My daughter may remember 1,000 things of greatness, but the one image that she will stand out the most is the first time she felt unprotected, the first time she had to look at her father from afar because y'all don't want to allow her father to be present. When I ask you the same questions I ask myself, after hearing all this, after seeing the patterns, after seeing the timeline, is this accountability or is this retaliation? Let me know in the comments.